Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Players Prep. My name is Brad Hopkins. A little bit of a preview of today's show. We're going to catch up with Brian Rector from Centennial, and of course, the reason why we're here at Hillsboro, we're going to catch up with Craig Clayton too. Coach's conversation and much more is next. Maurice and I will get started in just a few minutes. And we're back. Brad Hopkins, Maurice Patton in the middle of this week. Craig Clayton from Hillsboro High School, the Burros. Hang on a second. When you were telling us when we were walking in here, first off, you guys really have a real burro.
We got two of them.
Shut up.
Two burros. Mom and a baby.
Stop.
That's right.
So what are their names?
Big Burro, Little Burro.
Big Burro, Little Burro.
I don't know.
Let's walk, because we got a big game coming up here in Springfield, and I'm sure that the atmosphere, I don't need to tell you what that's like. You know, the second weekend in the playoffs here in Middle Tennessee can be raucous. So what's the week been like preparing for you?
Oh, good. You know, last week was a terrible week. We were out of school one day, had trouble getting everybody here, and it rained on a Wednesday, so it wasn't a good practice week, and we kind of were off a little bit the first quarter. But this week has been a lot better. So, you know, you have to do things differently in the playoffs. There's a different level of expectation, and we play a lot of kids during the year, and in the playoffs we kind of bring them all back together, put our starters back on specialty teams, and you know, condense the amount of guys that are getting playing time. So I've kind of done that for years and had pretty good luck with it in the playoffs.
Kind of helps you build your depth, I guess.
It does, and you keep fresh bodies. You know, I love the hurry-up offenses, but when you think about it, when you start running 70 plays a game in high school football versus 45 or 50 over a 10-game period, you're playing extra 5 games. Well, for 16, 17-year-old kids, that's a lot more, you know, wear and tear on their bodies. And I like fresh legs in the playoffs and bodies. So our running backs are all, I got 3 really good ones, and they're all healthy. So, you know, we're in great shape physically for the playoffs.
Well, tell us a little bit about those running backs. First off, well, it's a 2-part question. I want you to get into the personnel first off.
Okay.
But when we were talking about the sloppiness that you had last week and how maybe the 12 penalties were a result of that against Kenwood, what'd you do this week that was differently than last week to make sure that this doesn't come up again?
We punched them.
So. All right.
I think physical pain is a good detriment. You know, we're not going to beat them with a stick or anything, but, you know, up downs and that part of it, you know, we're trying to correct. So I'm not one of those guys that thinks just talking to them always works. So there's got to be some consequence for bad actions. So. But, you know, I think we're going to play much better this week.
I can imagine.
You know, Brad was talking about the running backs, and there are a lot of guys that get a lot of attention on this ball club, but you've got 2 or 3 guys that can really tote that rock. Kind of talk a little bit about that.
We'll do Vincent Perry is a special player. You know, he's committed to UT. He's the top 50 baseball players in the country in high school, so he'll have a decision when the draft comes out next time, whether to take $1 million or go on maybe. If he gets drafted high enough, he's going to make a lot of cash. So. But he's a difference maker, one of the best skill guys I've ever seen, and he just makes things happen. And he had ACL back in February, so he's just now getting back to 100%. So very physical player too. I know Coach Thigpen was here from UT the other night and was amazed at how physical runner he was, and you know, for a small kid. So I think, you know, good weight program. He could actually play slot, running back, or corner, really. And then got 2 juniors, Jeremy Hill and DeAndre Alexander. They both have rushed for about 500 yards. I think one's averaging 8 yards a carry, one's averaging 7, and Vincent's averaging 9. So we just don't. The other night we scored 55 points, ran 34 plays. So we've had 5 games where nobody plays in the second half. So, you know, statistically, they're not having great years on paper, but on the field they are.
Coach, just you talked about guys coming and paying attention to your program, the kids that are in it. I know it's important to you to have colleges come by and take a look at your kids, but how important is it to the kids themselves when they notice that colleges are walking around campus?
They like it, you know, and then, you know, with the open zoning in Nashville and, you know, the different academies we have here, you know, Hillsboro has a very academically ranked school in Tennessee. So, you know, it helps us get quality athletes that want to come to Hillsboro and play. I like smart football players. You know, they do better over the long haul. And even though you're a good athlete, if you can't pick up the system and you can't really do the things we need done or won't take coaching, it doesn't do you any good to be here with us. So we really like that. You know, Mr. Schrader's done a fantastic job here building up the academics. And so right now we're getting quality kids in here that want to be good academically as well as athletically.
Coach, I mean, here's an amazing statistic for you. You might have known this already, Maurice. since October, up until last week when they got 12 points scored on them, Hillsboro hadn't been scored on in almost a month. 4 weeks of basically no touchdowns against you. How'd your kids pull that off?
Well, actually, it was September the 26th, the last time somebody scored on us before last week. We pull everybody out when we get the running clock going.
Right.
And our second defense is probably as good as 50% of the teams around here's first defense. So they just don't let anybody score. Now, our second team offense isn't very good, so we don't run up the score, So, I mean, that's what it kind of comes down to. But, yeah, we just play really well. And actually, the other night, the first touchdown they scored was on we had the kid in the backfield, whiffed on him. He scrambled out, and everything broke down. They got a 35-yard touchdown off of that.
How'd they take that? It's finally getting scored.
Oh, they didn't like it. They didn't like it, man. They wanted to, shut somebody else out. Then we gave up one in the second half after the running
Well,
clock
with that
started,
being the case, what do you feel like the defense's response will be this week against a Springfield team that's got that really good Timmy Barbee running things at quarterback?
Well, the good thing about playing in Nashville, and even last week, the kid last week has offers from Air Force and Navy, the quarterback. So we've seen a lot of really athletic quarterbacks. So we're used to that. And what really happens, I think, with a lot of teams is they can watch us on tape until they actually play us. I don't think people realize how fast we really are and big. I mean, Kyle's 260 running 4.6. So, I mean, he's out running down he was running down the quarterback that night that Air Force and Navy want to run the option. So that kind of stuff. And so I think people get like a little shock when they first play us. And then our special teams now with putting our starters back on it, we're covering. I think they got one kick out past the 20 on the kickoff the other night. So, we're covering and doing a lot of really great things. But the speed thing, I think, kind of shocks people. We see it every day in practice. It doesn't seem like it's that big a deal, but then we play somebody, everybody seems slow.
Coach, you're not scared to use all three phases of the game, are you?
No.
Fake punt was part of a conversion. You do some other things, so it's not just offense, defense, but it's also special teams well-rounded.
Oh, yeah, our special teams have been great this year. I think we've created a turnover scored at 8 games maybe, something like that. So, we've done really well special teams this year.
Craig, this is your third year here. I think this is the fourth time Hillsboro's gone 10-0. Since 2000, so you're kind of building on a tradition. Just kind of talk about what this program has accomplished quietly over the last 15 years.
I think it's one of those programs that has done very well statewide, but a lot of people don't recognize it for some reason. And but back I know in the early 2000s, they were there a bunch under Ron A-Lot, and then when Scott Blake came in, he won the championship in 08. We actually played him at Franklin, beat him the first game of the year at Vanderbilt. We were runner-up that year at Franklin. So, and then, of course, they had 3 bad years there, 9 and 21. And then when I came over, we were lucky enough we went 7-5 the first year. Beach beat us with Jalen Hurd in the second round of the playoffs. Then last year, we were 5-5 and lost in the second round of playoffs again. So. But last year, I think we would have won 9 or 10 games. We had terrible injuries. Kyle got hurt the 5th game. Our 330 nose got hurt the 2nd game, and so we couldn't stop the run anymore. And last year we just had a terrible amount of injuries. But this year's have been very clean. We only have one injury that's really been season-ending so far, so it's been really good.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Mo P, I think I might have met someone whose depth goes further than yours in Middle Tennessee football in high school.
It's a little something.
Yeah, I think good. That's somebody. It's Craig Clayton. He is the head coach of the Hillsboro Burros. They're getting ready to play Springfield this upcoming weekend, round 2. That's going to do it for our segment out here at Hillsboro. Let me remind you guys, we are brought to you by Global Motorsport. Go to globalmotorsportinc.com and find out about their 4 locations and awesome inventory. We're also brought to you by Music City Customs. Once you go to Larry Thorne over at Global Motorsport and buy your beautiful car, take it over to Music City Customs. Tell Dustin that Mo P and B-Hop sent you. Welcome back. We are at Cougar Stadium, Centennial High School. Brian Rector is the man in the middle. Last time we came up to you, I think you were getting ready to play Ravenwood.
Yes.
Not sure can't remember how that game came out, but you're sitting here right now, so obviously you're not doing too bad.
Not doing too bad. That game, although, was not too good, so I'm hoping you guys don't bring some bad mojo 2 times in a row,
Well, no, because, we didn't talk to you last week, but last week was really good for you. It was a redemption game for you a little bit. Talk about it.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, we had played Franklin, had to play Franklin 2 weeks in a row. First time was on our field right here, and it was a 3-point game. We were up several points. I think I want to say 11 points maybe in the 4th quarter, and they outscored us 20-7 in the 4th quarter to win the game. by 3 points, and it was a really up and down game. Both offenses were doing well. Neither defense is really doing all that great at all, as you guys know. We felt like we made several mistakes on both sides of the ball, and really in going to play them again the second week in a row, all we did was look at film and say, hey, where did we go wrong? We didn't really change any of the game plan whatsoever. Just a couple of adjustments to try to do better at basic things like blocking and tackling, and we really felt like we did that. The big difference to us in that game was quarterback Joe Critchlow was not able to get all the way out of the pocket and make big throws down deep. The secondary can only cover for so long. When the quarterback gets out of the pocket, that's pretty much the worst thing that can happen to a secondary.
Absolutely.
That did not happen hardly at all on this past Friday night. To me, that was the difference in the game.
You talked about your defense, Brian, and you talked about keeping Critchlow in the pocket. It'll be a different animal this time around. You won't have to worry a whole lot about the quarterback and certainly not throwing the ball.
Well, that's what we've seen so far on film. If they're throwing the ball, that's probably a good thing for us. At least we hope. Hendersonville is they're as tough on the run as any team you could probably imagine in Middle Tennessee. Coach Hatfield certainly does a great job getting those guys ready. They come off the ball, they're shot out of a cannon. They stay on blocks. The running backs find the open windows. They find the open seams and blocks and things of that nature. So, yeah, it's a big challenge. There's no doubt about that. We obviously stopping the run is not something you're going to do versus Hendersonville, but can we control it?
Talk about Dylan Johnson. Here's a nose guard that you send off into coverage. Thwarts an attempt by Joe Critchlow himself to really make a play to get them in the ball game, and they're driving. I guess the whole story that is surrounding this young man that you coach.
Yeah, Dalen is an unbelievable story, really. He's been a linebacker for 3 years. He suffered a couple of injuries, one of which took him out for almost an entire year.
Yeah.
Then he suffers one in the spring of his junior year where he had a torn labrum. All year long, all off season, he's had a torn labrum, has decided not to get it fixed so that he can prepare for the season and things of that nature. As you guys may or may not know, you tear a labrum, docs say you can't really do a whole lot to it, so he has it strapped down. We moved him from linebacker to D-line because of speed issues. He had put on weight, which was good, and he's been a really good defensive lineman for us. So to be honest with you, because he played linebacker for 3 years, dropping him into coverage,
old hat.
It's old hat.
Yeah.
It was the easiest thing that really, that was nothing. To him, that's nothing. That was, one of those exciting things that a lineman gets to do.
Yeah.
And so he drops, he sees the running back out of the pocket. We obviously blitz both inside linebackers for pressure on the cue. We dropped the nose to replace them, and sure enough, he was able to catch the ball.
I was reading about that game, though. Did he really did he call his own number?
He did. Now, I think maybe in some of the medias, I don't call the defense. Coach Michael Coakley does.
Right.
And I think they had inserted my name in there. so I didn't make that call. I just tell them, hey, call what you need to call. I hear the call, and then I very, very seldom will I cancel it, but I heard that one. I thought, oh, my goodness. And sure enough, he did. He asked for the nose, we call it a nose drop. He asked for the nose drop and said he'd cover a guy if need be. And it was out of a timeout situation, and luckily, it was the perfect call.
Using those linebacker instincts, even though he was a nose, probably had his nose in the backfield there. I don't know if that was a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be fooled him.
Exactly.
Either way, it paid off.
It paid off, no question.
Brian, talk about the way that developed with Dalen calling his own play there, and how much ownership do you typically give your guys as far as, I know you don't want them out there calling their own plays, but how much input do you allow those guys to have?
I think that comes with experience and trust. If you've got an experienced player that you trust that makes plays and they come over and say, Coach, hey, this I think is wide open, as a coach, obviously you're going to listen. And it just doesn't happen, guys. You don't have a guy that is in his first game that hasn't made any plays. They don't ever come over and ask for this play or
they're
that.
Scared.
Exactly. They don't necessarily believe in themselves enough. They're waiting for their marching orders and they're ready to go do the best they can. But Dalen, like I said, he basically has started at various positions over the last 3 years. He's played as many games as anybody else on the field out there, and so he did. He just said, hey, I can cover it in the nose drop.
Yeah. Got a big game coming up against Hendersonville. There was one mantra that stuck out more than anyone's that I heard you were saying this year, and it's like believe. So did the Journey song "Don't Stop Believing"? Is that something you got pumping in the locker room?
That's hilarious. I should, because I'm a giant '80s fan, so I definitely need to start pumping the Journey. There's no doubt about it. It's a great Pandora thread, by the way. But honestly, I'll be honest with you. I've just kind of said that ever since I've been a coach. I just think that what we do as high school coaches is we try to, for lack of a better way to say it, we have an analogy my offensive line coach uses. We try to make peanut roasters walk on the high wire, And so if you can get a peanut roaster to believe that he can walk on the high wire, you could actually get a few more plays out of people in the game. And that's kind of what coaching is all about at the high school level, actually. You've got to take a kid who will probably never play beyond high school, and you got to get them to believe that they're a great high school football player and that they can do whatever it is you ask them to do. And that translates into whatever they do in life after that. We just believe in the power of belief, I guess.
You just mentioned that most of these guys won't play past this level. You've got at least two that will. Talk about Deion Sanders and Emmanuel Hall and their significance both to this season and to this Friday night.
Right. Well, it's really the same thing, season and this Friday night. Their leadership is phenomenal. Their playmaking ability is way above average. That's for sure. You've got Emmanuel is the best athlete I've ever coached. Very fast, very tall, very explosive. Deion is as tough as they come. Can carry it as many as 40 times a game. And if he gets 3 yards a pop, then he'll get 3 yards a pop. But he also has the ability to get you the 15, the 20, and the 50s and 60s as well. So very versatile, Deion is, especially. He can play a slot, he can play a fullback, he can play tailback. He's even thrown several passes this year. Emmanuel is a guy that anytime he touches the ball, can make some moves, and if he gets any space whatsoever, he can go on most high school teams. So their significance is for the season and this Friday night is very important. I mean, if let's just say they were to have really, really, really bad games, it probably won't end up well for us. But if they both have really good games and are productive, I'd say we'll end up okay.
Centennial, Hendersonville, 2 Titans this weekend. That's going to be actually pretty good. No, I didn't mean it. Okay, we were supposed to say 2 Raiders? That didn't make any sense.
There you go.
That's been Coach Brian Rector, the coach of the Centennial Cougars. We do wish you luck coming up this weekend, Coach, and it's been great talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Mo, it can't just be Centennial, Hendersonville. It can't just be Hillsboro, Springfield. What else is going on this weekend, round 2 division playoffs?
No, you're right. It's not just that. You've got Ravenwood McGavitt.
Okay.
In 6A.
Yeah.
You've got Beach Springfield in 5A. That's going to be a good ball game. I'm sorry, Beach Shelbyville. Another S.
Okay.
Beach Shelbyville in 5A. Beach is always around this time of year. They've won a couple of state championships in 5A. They beat Columbia at their place last week to advance. And Shelbyville, I think this is going to be one of the better games in 5A across the state, probably, that Beach Shelbyville matchup. So there's one to keep an eye on as well.
Well, you see what Mo and I are doing. We're enjoying these last few days of short sleeves, buddy. Because around this time of the year in football specifically, it starts to get cold. So I don't know if that'll be affected this weekend, but we'll definitely see some not more than just the leaves changing.
Oh, I'll be bundling up. I know you'll be bundling up.
Yeah. I get made fun of for bundling up. I don't care. It's okay. It's called comfort than cool. I'll take that any day. That's going to do it for us. Let me remind you guys of the wonderful sponsors that kind of make this thing happen. Global Motorsports, they're one of our great sponsors down there. They've got 4 locations in and around town. GlobalMotorsportsinc.com is how you can find out where they are and also take a look at their inventory. Music City Customs. You talk about a place to get every single thing done to your vehicle that's accessorizing, stop down there. Just south of the Cool Springs Mall here in Cool Springs on Crossroads. Check them out at musiccity-customs.com to find out more. You're going to be truly happy, I'll tell you that much. So, for Maurice Patton, I am Brad Hopkins. We'll have more high school action for you next week on Players Prep. Stick around. We'll talk to you soon.
Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.